Hey guys, Biggs here, and in today's video we are back with the Half Sky NASKAR once again with its new engine out of a 1980 Honda CB750C. And in the last video we attempted to do the first test drive on it with the new setup and everything. And once again, all of this is all temporary. Everything is going to be so much more organized, so much nicer once it's completely done, but I need to make sure that everything will perform as it should before we actually make this like pretty and nice and like ready to go to events. So it's a good thing we did that, because as you guys saw when we put the second clutch cable on this, it snapped right away. So I know a lot of you guys were saying that I should make my own clutch cable or like clutch linkage. I don't really know how to do that, so I'm gonna look into it. And it might also be the pedal I was saying before, and I know some of you guys were also saying that as well. So I'm definitely going to look into that, but for right now, I want to focus on the thing that broke in last video when we tried to drive it, you know, starting it in gear. It made a lot of tension on the gearing and everything with the sprockets, since I wasn't able to really lay into it with the clutch. And as you guys can see, the sprocket came right off of the hub, and that is because this hub is aluminum and that sprocket is steel. And I tried welding them together, but that does not work. And now I know that that won't work, so just living and learning here. Once again, my first time ever doing anything like this. So I'm gonna have to take out the axle once again. Well, not completely take out, but just absolutely slide it out all the way to the right. So basically just taking it out in order to slide off that hub and get it out from the axle, and so I can take it with the sprocket. And what I'm just going to do, I should have done this from the beginning, just lay it on the table and line it all up, drill some bolt holes, put some bolts in it, and call it a day. That's what I should have done from the beginning, and it would have worked so much better. And when I did that, I did pull the engine, but I'm going to try and do this with the engine in it. I should be able to. I got to take off all the brakes, the tires, all the axle bearings, everything like that. So it definitely is a little bit of an annoying process. Not hard, just annoying and time consuming. But once we're done with that, I'm going to move on and adjust this throttle cable, because when it started, it was revving to the moon. And that's because ever so slightly this throttle cable is just a little bit too high mounted up, and it's pulling up on the throttle. You probably won't be able to see it, but I mean, if I go like this, then if we look at the throttle linkage, I could push it down a good amount. So definitely want to make sure that it's revving nice and low, and you know, we can actually get this to idle. But that's enough chit chat. Let's get started on getting this thing all straightened out. Alrighty guys, so I was really hoping that I won't need to take out the engine, but it looks like that I am going to have to, because I can't lift up the axle enough to get the bearings over, the axle bearing over, you know, the little mount it has, so it just hits it. So that kind of sucks, but I mean, this engine's kind of easy to move in and out. So I'm just going to slide out all of the engine mounts, loosen everything up, you know, everything I need to do, all the electrical stuff, and then we will be able to continue on. And just like that, the engine is out. So now I have all this room to just do everything I needed to do with this axle, so let's just get that done so we can get this engine back in. So guys, the sprocket and the hub are out and off of the axle, and basically what I'm going to do is clean off all of those disgusting welds, take off all these old useless bolts, and line the sprocket up on the hub, nice and even. Like, measure around, make sure it's even on all sides, so we don't have like a pushing going when it's like rotating. You know, it needs to be nice and even. And then once I, you know, draw it out and exactly where I need it, I could drill the holes, put some bolts in, and this and the sprocket will be as one, nice and tight and strong. So guys, I just finished up lining everything up, and oh my god, I went back and forth with the ruler, making sure that it was even on every single like spot possible. It's a circle, so it's even pretty much everywhere. So I just did 1, 2, 3, 4. What I found out that each side needs to be 2/16 less than an inch and a half to be centered. So I was able to achieve that, drill it, and it's nice and tight on here now. I'm going to add some more bolts. Obviously 2 will probably be okay, but just to be safe and I won't have to go through all this trouble again, I'm just going to add as many bolts as I possibly can. But I actually just threw it onto the axle before and just spun it by hand just to make sure that it's not like hopping up and down or anything like that. And just based on that, which isn't exactly accurate because, you know, the bearings are already in, it's not bolted down, but just by spinning it around it, it looked super straight. So I'm pumped on that. But I'm just going to go ahead and drill a couple more holes real quick, throw a couple bolts in, and then we will go and reassemble this axle once again. Alrighty, so I just finished up putting everything back on the axle, and the sprocket came out freaking awesome. I mean, I'm so happy I did this and just went back and fixed this all up. It is spinning super nicely. Like, the chain isn't getting like super tensioned up and then loose. You know, it's spinning in a perfect circle, and the tension really honestly isn't that bad. But I'm sure it could use a tensioner. Just how it is for now, like this is perfectly fine because I'm not going to be ripping this until it's completely done. Here's a closer look at all those bolts I put in there. So it's definitely super solid. That's not going anywhere. But right now, I just got to put the engine back in, tidy everything up once again. Then once the engine is in, we can start with the new fuel system, which I haven't showed you guys, but the fuel cell that I was going to use right there, it's really too big for the space that I have in here, and it's actually starting to leak. I think something broke on it, so I just went ahead and picked up this little tiny gas tank. I mean, it's not too bad. It's not like I'm going to be driving this thing for like hours on end and I got to worry about this draining all the way, but I'm sure for the length of time that I'm going to be, you know, riding this will be a perfect amount of fuel, holding amount, you know, that I won't have to keep refilling it every second, and I can mount it basically anywhere, which is super nice. And then in here, I have a new fuel pump, because as you guys know, the first fuel pump that I tried pumps 3.7 gallons per minute, which is way too much, and I could have got a fuel pressure regulator, but still, that's just a ton of pressure that's going to be held back. I don't want to risk pressurizing the carbs and bursting gaskets or whatever. And then we tried the vacuum fuel pump, which wasn't working as well. So I just got a little fuel pump, which will be perfect. It doesn't flow a lot. I don't remember exactly how much it said, but what I do know is it'll be perfect for the carburetors, because it's not too weak that it's going to cause fuel starvation, but it's not too much that I'm going to need like a fuel pressure regulator, and the carbs can be risked being messed up, even though they pretty much already are. And carbs online are super expensive for this bike. Like, even like cheap ones are like $500, which is kind of a lot. I'm pretty cheap. I don't like to spend a lot of money, and especially on carburetors. But if I have to, and you know it's not running great, then I gotta do what I gotta do. Alrighty guys, so the engine is back in, the chains are back on, everything with the wiring harness is all plugged back in. Everything is just so much better than how it was before. But as you guys can see, the carburetors are off because I want to mess with the throttle cable, like I said earlier in the video. But also, I extended the wires that go down to the wiring harness under the engine right down there, and those are for the coils. And before, the coils were super smushed up against the valve cover, and it was just a really insanely tight fit. I mean, bolting it down was a huge issue because it was just so hard to push down, but I extended some of the wires, and now we have a ton of room underneath here. Everything's nice and like loose, but not like loose that it'll fall off, but like, you know, it's not tight enough that it will like snap in half, because that's how it was before. Both of the engine mounts are slid in and bolted down. I mean, this is just so much better. So basically what I mean for adjusting the throttle cable is, this is as tight as it is, like without pulling up on the throttle. And as you guys can see, the mount is right next to where it needs to slide in. So when I lift it up, and this is not the OEM mount for this cable, which is a reason why it doesn't work, but this is how I had it before, and this is how much it was lifted up. So I had it like that, and how it should be, it was like that. So definitely a good amount of throttle was being held up, and could be a reason why it was revving up so high. So I'm going to try and modify this to make it work. Maybe just like spread this out a little bit so I can really get that down there, and hopefully we could slacken it up a little bit and then work on getting this thing to idle. So just real quick, I went ahead and just expanded that, pushed it down, and then I kind of wedged it in and just did 2 little tiny tack welds just to hold it in place from, you know, coming out. So if I go over here and put my foot on the pedal, if we look right here on the little throttle blade, it's all the way down. I can't push it down anymore. So if I just hit the gas a little bit, let go, it doesn't go down anymore, and that is because they are working perfectly. And once again, if we just look right here, they're closing up all the way. That little gap right there is like how it should be. It needs to be open a little bit so it can at least run, but before it was probably like sitting like that. So definitely happy how this came out, and definitely a lot better slack on the throttle cable. So right now I'm just going to throw on the carburetors, and then I'm going to end it off for tonight, because the place where I could get you know, some good fuel line for the new fuel system is currently closed. So tomorrow morning we could start off with that, go to the store, get the fuel stuff, and then come here, get that all hooked up and good to go. And then I can just throw on the tires at my own time. That takes literally 30 seconds. So let me just throw these on, and then I will see you all tomorrow.
The next day.
Mounted up the fuel tank, the fuel pump, and I'm not going to leave the fuel pump here. I'm probably just going to put it under it, but just for testing it right now, I'm just going to put it here, because if I do put it there, the body's just going to be laying on this, and we don't want that. And I ran all the lines and everything, so right now I'm just going to connect the positive and negative to the battery. I also need to put some fuel in the tank, and then we will see how this pumps. I'm super curious to see if it will be able to do that. I think it will, but let's just find out. Alright, first time ever putting fuel in this. Alright, that should be enough. Of course, I spilled it all over the brand new tank. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That is perfect. Heck yeah. So this little $9 eBay fuel pump is actually really good so far. And that's like the smallest one I could possibly find. I'm not really familiar with fuel pumps. I've said that a couple videos back. Do you guys think, based off what you guys just saw and how this, like, flowed, do you think I should still get a fuel pressure regulator, or do you think it'd be fine just like that? So definitely comment down below what you guys think. But I am needing to end off the video here. I'm pretty happy with what we got done. I mean, took out the engine, took out the rear axle, fixed that all up, put everything back in, wired everything back up, got the new fuel system ran, and yes, I'm gonna have a switch for this. I just gotta, you know, get one. But currently, I just do not have enough time for this, and I really want to get this video up for you guys, just so you aren't hanging. I'm going to look into the whole clutch situation here, and if you guys know, like, I know some of you guys were saying to make my own, but I'm not sure how I can make, like, one with a rod, but that needs to be pulled up. And also, I know some of you guys were saying that the clutch might be frozen, but I could pull it up with my hand. I mean, it definitely could be a little bit stiff because it really hasn't been used in 20 years. So maybe just one day I'll just come in here and just kind of pull this thing up with my hand a ton of times just to see if I can get it any looser. But hopefully next video with this, we can retry our first test drive. I mean, everything on it is just so much better. I'm just super pumped. And then I'm also probably going to look into some air boxes for this. I have the other one, but it is just massive. Yeah, it's that right there. and I don't think that the carbs will even be able to hold it up, you know, without any other mount around it, and it'll look ridiculous. The body won't fit over it, so definitely gonna have to look in, or maybe try and make my own smaller airbox. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna be ending off the video here. Follow my social medias; they will be on the outro of this video. Instagram and Snapchat I use the most. Definitely stay tuned for some more awesome content coming soon. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, tell your friends about the channel.